Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all very well. We are today going to be talking about 3 hits and 3 misses from the Voyager Part 4 arc, the conclusion of Voyager. We're going to be talking about what we think went well, what we think didn't go so well, and summing that up in our 3 hits and our 3 misses from the August arc in Star Trek Fleet Command. We've also got a hint at some point in the video, so you're going to have to watch it all. So if you want to find out what's coming out in a very near future towards the next arc, for the September arc, we will be dropping a hint. So stay tuned for that so you can see exactly what you think might be going on, see if you can work it out for us. So let's get cracking, and as always, we'll start off with the bad stuff and end on a good note. So we'll start off with the 3 misses. For a timestamp, obviously this is the update number 57, Voyager Part 4. So let's look at what actually came out during Voyager Part 4. So we had rare formation armadas, an extension to the station tree for G5 players, an event store, forbidden tech, new officers, new missions, and obviously some more as well. So that was the general process of what happened. So let's start off with our first miss. So my first miss is going to be the event store. So the event store, pretty standard, had all the stuff that we would normally expect to be in there. However, my issue with this event store was that there was no massive iteration. So there was nothing that was new that was added of any real significant note. Now, the only thing that was added was they did add the ship parts for the Defiant. So when we go into the ship parts section, they have added the Defiant parts. So if we can find those, obviously towards the end of here, you'll see that they have added both rare and uncommon Defiant parts to this store. Decent conversion, pretty standard, 7,500 for about a day's worth of Defiant parts. These did scale by Defiant tier, which was nice, but my issue is that where's all the stuff from the Picard arc? Where's some of the stuff from the Talios arc and those officers? I just don't think it's been changed and updated enough for it to be inclusive. I think it should have had things like, it should have had the Fisher glass skin, the green skin for the Fisher for players to go after, things like that. Just some standard stuff that's been out now for a while. I think the event store is an opportunity for people to catch up. Still fantastic for people sort of in the 20s and 30s for ship acquisition. I can't knock that at all. However, I think that there should be some more iterations moving forward with the event store. But yeah, that's our first miss. Now, our second miss comes in terms of something that we actually asked for, which sounds strange, and that's going to be this complex nanotech exchange. So the complex nanotech exchange is from the rare formation armadas. It then drops this complex nanotech, and then it allows you to come in here where we've got a decent selection of officers. Now, there is one positive for this. The one positive for this is obviously but there are opportunities for full pulls. There are opportunities for shards of all the officers, apart from the officers that were added this month. Hopefully, Neelix and 7 do get added to this chest. It also gives us a few rare skill point fragments and a few premium artifact tokens to help us with our standard artifacts. So that's good. The issue for me is the pace of this. So because of the amount that you're going to be able to pull with these, because it's got a cooldown, unlike the Strange New Worlds chest, where if you've got a bunch of the refinery materials to be able to pull that Strange New Worlds chest 4 or 5 times, you can just go for it. And that's where people were seeing massive value from the Strange New Worlds chest and why that sourcing got so much praise. This one, you are restricted to either 1 or 2 chests, and 2 chests being treble the cost of 1. And the nanotech being pretty difficult to source. It's not a great refinery, in my opinion. And we're going to pull it now, just obviously just to prove it. You watch, we get a full pull. We didn't. We got 1 Catherine Janeway shard, and obviously 1 epic shard. Yeah, take it or leave it. However, you think of the pace of this. I'm 93 out of 240 towards rank 3 for Janeway, and with the other 5 or 6 officers that are in there, if you think if we pull 1 Janeway shard a week, then we may be able to tier her up at some point in a few years' time, which just isn't adequate sourcing in my opinion. So I think something needs to happen with this, and I think that particular refinery, although added and good that we've got some sourcing for the officers straight away, I think it's too slow. So that's our second miss. Our third miss comes along the same sort of lines, and that's the introduction of the main feature this month, and that is rare formation armadas. Now, I quite like the premise of rare formation armadas. I like the stuff that they drop. I absolutely adore the design. I think the way that they look is absolutely superb. I've been going down the Borg Unimatrix route with it. I think they look absolutely fantastic. I think there's great artwork gone into these, so I can't knock that at all. But where my issue comes with these is the sourcing of these particular directives. So we all know that we get one uncommon formation armada per week, obviously from your dailies. They are sourced through the actual completion of your dailies in the top chests of those. Now the rare formation armadas also require you. They also have a link into dailies. You complete 7 sets of your dailies, so 1 week you get 7 of your loyalty badges. You then come over to your chests, and you can go into your 7-day chest, and at the bottom of there, every time you pull this, you will get 100 of the rare armada directives for the formation armadas. Obviously you need 200 to start, pretty standard for a rare. However, only getting 1 pull every week means that you can start 1 formation armada every 2 weeks yourself, making this very, very slow. Now at the moment, because this is new, we are seeing them we saw them in the battle pass last month, so I think people, including myself, were able to get a decent chunk of nanotech to keep them going for a while. The issue is that as this product and as this content gets a little bit older, that sort of stuff tends to fall out of the battle pass, which means that this then goes down to whatever this generic sourcing is of 1 every 2 weeks, meaning that we may struggle to keep up with the nanotech refinery, which, as we just spoke about on our second miss, is the only source at the moment for the Voyager officers. And if that starts to slow down anymore, that will basically stop. So my issue is with the sourcing. I think this needs to get ramped up. I don't see any issues with having 1 every single week of these. I think that simple doubling, being able to do 4 per month, same as the uncommons, I think that keeps the refinery fueled. I think it keeps players engaged. It even means that you could even potentially start looking at 2 chest pulls within the Voyager refinery for officers, which then obviously doubles the acquisition speed of those officers, which will be a welcome change. So I think that one change of changing these from 100 to 200, I think that could make a massive difference overall with the game. So that's all the negatives, and let's take a look at 3 positives from the last month in Star Trek Fleet Command. So my first hit, and before we move on to that, guys, if you are not already subbed to the channel, if you could do that, that would be amazing. We are doing really well with that. So if you haven't, it's absolutely free. Just please press subscribe while you are here. Now, our first hit of the arc is going to be in terms of officers. We had 2 officers introduced this arc. We had Neelix and we had 7 of 9. I'm going to group these 2 together. Now, they are both exceptional additions to the game. Now, 7 of 9 is great when paired with Chakotay in solo armadas. Obviously, her officer's ability is going to be to increase critical hit damage, which obviously is basically net damage when you score a critical hit by 100%, and then obviously scaling by the rank that you have 7 of 9 at. And then below deck, she is a PvP master house, so isolytic damage, which, as we know, isolytic damage is additional damage. It's not converting existing damage. This is purely a net gain in terms of isolytic, which is not affected by standard mitigation. Absolutely huge. And remember, guys, this is also cascade, meaning that whatever that percentage is, you are also going to get that boost to any of your isolytic artifacts as well. So anything that confirms, anything that includes isolytic, obviously is going to be boosted by 7's isolytic cascade. And these are higher than Janeway's percentages as well at the early tiers. So really, really impressive. Really, really happy with 7 of 9. She's a fantastic addition to the game and has multiple uses in both PvE in terms of armadas and obviously in PvP as well. She should be a PvP stalwart for you. The other one being Neelix. Now, his below deck burning ability, not working with Tal, is a little bit of a lots of people are not happy with this. I am happy with this because I believe that if he did work with Tal, he does break the game. I'm not going to go into the math and everything on it now, but let's just put it this way, that if Neelix did work with Tal, that would basically end any hostile fight, providing you could survive for 4 to 5 rounds. The hostile would be dead. As you can imagine, that would absolutely break the game. But having a blood at burning officer for proccing things like isolytic artifacts again, and any other officers that do use burning, absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. But where I think his main value is in terms of his procurement consultant, reducing the cost of using your Voyager's ship ability. So your Voyager ship ability started off at 500. And if we pull up Voyager now, so if we just pop out of the screen, so we've pulled Voyager out, and we can see that obviously a standard summoning cost is 500. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put Neelix on the bridge, and then we are going to check what impact that has actually had on our costs for using the Voyager abilities. So if we throw him on the bridge there, Take it back out into space, we can now see that the summoning ability has dropped to 323. So it is taking a significant reduction to the deuterium canisters that you need to use, obviously, to trigger Voyager's ability, which means you can go out there, you can grind easier the 8472 hostiles, the Borg hostiles. I have done a video on using Voyager's abilities, because there are obviously 3 ways that you can use Voyager's ability in terms of summoning hostiles. Obviously, there's the PvP element to that as well. So please go check that video out. I will link that at the end of the video so that you can go straight to that. However, Voyager, both officers, absolutely fantastic, and both big, massive hits, in my opinion, for this arc. Before we move on to our second hint, guys, please use the comment section down below. I would love to hear your 3 hits and your 3 misses as well for the arc. I think that would be really good for me to sort of gauge back, and obviously that's something that we can maybe feed back to the team, and obviously hopefully make future arcs even better. But send us your 3 hits and your 3 misses. I'm not grading, obviously, purely because obviously lots of other content creators grade the arcs. A couple of people have asked me for how I would grade things, but I think that's done to death by other people and done very well, which is why we stick with the 3 hits and the 3 misses. We're going to move on to the second hit, which is going to be the final event store loot numbers. So this started off as if we were going to have potentially the worst numbers in terms of event store loot of the entire game to date, and it didn't look good. Now the final week was exceptional. Massive shout out to the Arc Runner. Massive shout out to the Arc Runner on this. Obviously he managed to really ramp up the event store loot in the final month, giving the argument that these are chaos tokens. There was always going to be chaos with regards to them. I can buy into that. I quite like the narrative of it. They are chaotic space tokens, and there was chaos in the last month with the sheer amount of loot that came. And the final loot amounts were very typical of a standard event store. So really happy with the final event store numbers. Really happy with that final week. And obviously, it did allow me to make a lot more progress with officers than what I wanted to do. I managed to get my B'Elanna Torres up to max. I threw every single shred of loot into this. I got nothing else from this event store at all other than B'Elanna Torres shards. That is it. And I managed to get a max. That was my goal. Anybody that's watched my content for the last 3 or 4 months of Voyager, you will know that I've said from month 1 when she was launched, this was my goal for the entire Voyager arc when the event store came up, and I managed to do it. I know not everybody did. However, really happy that I managed to get her maxed out. So the final event store loot calculations, absolutely great, and I'm really happy with that, and that is our second hit. My final hit, and probably one of the coolest parts of the game. Obviously, they finally did give some love to the Rialto. Now, I love the Rialto. Obviously, it's your day 1 ship. It's the ship that everybody gets to start with. Everyone's ever played the game loves the Rialto, and they tried something new with the new racing events. Now, as much as I don't think that the racing event was absolutely perfect, I think it was a really good iteration and a really good try for people to obviously do something a little bit different, tracking impulse distance. Obviously, as a new scoring metric, it adds another dimension to the game, another scoring mechanic, obviously, for us to be able to use in the future. Obviously, there was the introduction of the 2 skins as well. So we got this skin, which obviously is the green one, which is the speed one, and then we got another refit as well for the Rialto, which was specifically for damage output, which is red. And I really like the look of them both. I alternate between the 2. I did it a couple of times during incursions because I think the skins are really well designed. But I want to give a massive shout out to Bart, the Arc Runner, obviously, who even did a video on this on the Rialto racing events, and I think he did a really good job of trying to communicate these out to people. Obviously, that's something that we haven't seen before. The Arc Runner specifically talking about an event in that much detail. So, not really happy with that. I think the iteration and the trying out of new mechanics and new ways to score in events, I think that's another massive hit for the Arc. So really happy with the iterations in terms of the Rialto and the attempt to try new and interesting events moving forward. Now, I promised that I was going to give a hint for the next arc, so I am going to give you that now, and I'm going to read it and pop it up on the screen right now. And the hint is, and he thinks these hints are royalty free, man. They were people to pay off, but mum's the word. That's the hint. One more time. And he thinks these hints are royalty free, man. They were people to pay off, but mum's the word. That's my hint for the September arc. Thank you to everybody for watching. Please subscribe and like the video if you haven't done already. We do have a merch store. If you head on over to itslewb.com, you'll be able to see that we have a new merch store. You can click on the merch button. You can see we've got some great new items putting in there. Really nice new hoodie in there, nice nutty t-shirt. There's glasses, there's hats, there's mouse mats, there's mugs, there's t-shirts, loads of different things in there. So please go check out the merch store. The website is itslewb.com. Nice and easy to remember. We also have memberships on both YouTube and on the merch channel as well. So please head over there. If you want to help support the channel, that is massively appreciated. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought were the hits and misses of the Ark in your opinion. I will leave a couple of links to a couple of other videos as well. So we will link the videos for using Voyager's abilities, how you can use it in the different ways that you can, and also for the fantastic iterations that have been given to Spock's Club and the Officer Tool and how they integrate and how you can use them. They will be linked in the final bit of here. But thank you so much, guys. Leave a comment down below, as I've said, your hits, your misses. And remember, guys, that everything is better with Lewb. Take care, guys, and have a wonderful day.